Swamp Creek and started this study in November. And as you know, the month of November and December is filled with a lot of holidays. So it's very early. We wanted to talk to you as soon as possible, but we did not want to schedule a public meeting during the holidays. That's why we picked this early date in January. The purpose of this meeting is really just to explain the study and begin the conversation, to hear your ideas, and certainly for you to hear some of our thoughts and perspectives, as preliminarily as they are. We wanted to share some of our early insights in the trail and the Greenway, Swamp Creek. We've been working with a steering committee comprised of people with various expertise and representing different parts of the study area. The study area does comprise portions of the municipalities of New Hanover Township, Upper Frederick, Lower Frederick, Limerick Township, as well as Schwenksville Borough. Study area itself is about a little more than 5,000 acres or so. It is the lower part of the Swamp Creek, largely between New Hanover Square Road and Schwenksville. For those of you, and many of you live here, so you know it full well, this is the part of the Swamp Creek that's really defined by beautiful woodlands, a lot of rocks, steep slopes, and has a very non-swamp-like characteristic. If you look at Swamp Creek further up, going up to Boyertown from New Hanover Square Road, it's a very different creek. It's a flat creek going through farmland, and that's essentially why it's called Swamp Creek. Well, why is the county interested in this? Why are we looking at this? The county has invested in the Swamp Creek Valley for a number of years. In the late 70s, we bought up a lot of properties around Sunrise Mill. We feel that the Sunrise Mill, the site, the mill, the house, the setting is a unique historic and cultural feature in the county. The mill itself dates back, it's a Federalist-style mill. It's a beautiful structure. The property itself was owned by a very important, very famous medical doctor who made some significant discoveries, and there's a huge collection of all his work at the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia. And so he itself further lends importance to that property. So we bought up the property and some of the surroundings. We think they're beautiful. But quite frankly, they really have no public access now, so that was one of the concerns we had. We also have worked with the municipalities in this area over the last several decades and the conservation organizations to preserve and protect some of the unique and significant parts of the Swamp Creek. Some of the lands that were formerly camp lands and other vacant properties that I think are important, and those are out there as potential public resources that we wanted to look at and see how to best manage and best care for. And also we wanted to look at the future opportunities to preserve, protect, and conserve other parts of the land. It doesn't mean we want to buy up all the land in the Swamp Creek Valley. Certainly we don't. But we want to find ways to make sure that the Swamp Creek Valley, this lower end, is and remains the kind of special place that I think everyone thinks it is. And how we do that? Well, that's what we're here to start sorting out. This is a feasibility study. This study was funded by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And essentially what I mean by feasibility study is we're going to look at all the ideas that could possibly preserve and protect this important resources. We are also going to look at all ideas to develop trails and ways the public can enjoy the land safely without disturbing neighbors, without disturbing the environment. So we're trying to make these balances very tricky, and that's the whole purpose of the feasibility study. Take all these ideas, and there are a lot of ideas. We've already sort of put a few ideas out there. You'll see them on the maps, and now we have to see what makes sense. And that's a process. We have to look at the impacts associated with them. Certainly there are environmental impacts. There could be impacts associated with flooding. There could be impacts associated with effects on local ecosystems. Certainly there could be impacts, most importantly, on the neighbors and the people that live there. And those are things we need to carefully balance and understand and weigh and determine. We also need to look at the benefits of, do we really need this trail? Do we really need these opportunities? Do we really need to preserve and protect these things? So that's all, part of a process, and the big ingredient in that process, certainly we will look at the science, we'll do all these maps and do all this analysis, but the important ingredient is also to talk with people and to have meetings like this, and this is the first meeting. We're also going to meet in about 2 months in March with some further ideas, and probably have another meeting toward the end of the process in the summer. In addition to these meetings, we're going to go out and meet with individuals and other key landowners or stakeholders in the area. We are also offered to come to municipal meetings to meet directly with the governing bodies and their constituents in any forum. So we're going to make ourselves available for conversations in different locations and different buildings. I live locally. I live in Limerick Township. And I'll tell you, I'll come out to your place on weekends if you want to talk about some of these issues. We're open to hearing anything you have to offer with respect to your ideas, some of the things we need to consider, some of the concerns you have. Those are all important. So the feasibility study, we're looking at all these ideas. We're weighing or balancing. The other aspect of the feasibility study is we've got to also, make some sort of priorities. Like, we obviously can't do everything. Certainly there are a lot of things that we'd like to do. This is certainly a very significant area of the county. The county obviously has a lot of other areas. This is 5,000 acres. The county has over 309,000 acres. So there are a lot of different needs the county has, and so money doesn't go everywhere. The money resources we would need here, we need other places. So we need to, as part of this process, assess what's really important, what people really value, what people really want, and what people would really use, benefit from. So that will be, that prioritization process will be another important aspect to what we're going to be doing. What we want to be sure of, and whatever we come up with in this process, it will take a while to develop, and we want to be sure we develop it methodically in a way that makes sense and that ultimately yields what I think we all would like, whatever the common vision is for this at the end of the process. So generally that's what it is. With the beginning of this feasibility study, what we want to do tonight is just run through some things here to just give you a larger sense of what we've done and what we're starting to think about. Then we'd like to certainly, most importantly, get your ideas tonight. They can be conveyed in a variety of ways. We'll have an open question and answer session at the end of this brief presentation. We would love to visit any of these boards with you and talk one-on-one. If you want to write it down, we have ways for you to get in contact with us. We've set up a website where we'll post all the information from this project. We've asked you to sign in. That's so we can make sure you're on our email list. So everything we have, we'll send to you. So anything you want as part of this process, we'll be glad to send. All the documents and everything done through this process will be posted on our website. And the information about that is in the back of the room. So we want to be sure you stay engaged. Certainly if you have any questions, all the municipalities are represented in the steering committee, so certainly they would also be points of contact. So what we wanted to do now, briefly, Shane Greenberg will start it off and just do a run-through of some of the things we've learned in the month and a half or so of just getting to know the area you guys know very well, and talk a little bit about some of the conservation opportunities associated with this area. And then Henry Stroud will talk a little bit about sort of our approach to trails. Obviously the county's built a lot of trails. We have about 100 miles of trails. We have pictures of a lot of the trails on that board over on the side of the room. We do trails very differently depending on the circumstances, the surroundings, the interests of the communities, and he'll explain a lot of that in our approach. I should also point out that this effort builds on past efforts. There have been other studies that have been done in this area. The county has also developed a comprehensive plan which addressed a countywide trail system. And in that plan and its previous plans, we did identify the potential of a trail going from the Perkiomen Trail all the way up through to New Hanover Township, through this valley. So that concept's been out there. It's just as a concept. And now we're trying to see what really makes sense and to try to identify its feasibility. We've also had for many years the interest in sort of opening up access to the Sunrise Mill area. Now this study will not evaluate, though, the historic restoration of the mill. That's a whole another challenge. What we'd like to do through this study is to figure out how to get people into or near the mill so they could enjoy at least some historic interpretation of the facility, so they could see it as a very scenic element in the county. But you know, it would certainly take another effort to figure out how it is, how we would ever restore the mill, even though I'm told that we have all the parts to the mill. So it's just a question of getting the parts together. So that's really not part of it. And then, obviously, many of you can probably hear, because some of the trail concepts, we have representatives from Simone Collins here tonight to just go through quickly with you, some of the things you're seeing in the board, some of these early concepts of the trails. You have to start somewhere, and so we did put some lines on maps, and we'd like to sort of explain some of the logic to that and hear your reaction and hear how you see those lines and the potentials for those trails.